Happy October 8th, everyone, and welcome to the Midwest Horror Network's October 2020 special, where we discuss all of the Simpsons Treehouse of Horror episodes. Today we are discussing the Season 9 episode, Treehouse of Horror 8. I think this is actually a pretty decent trio of segments we got in this episode. There were some funny moments, there were some gross moments. But let's not waste any time. Let's get right into it. So our intro for this episode begins with the Fox censor crossing out jokes in the episode script. Just saying like, no, we don't need that, crosses out. No, we don't need that, crosses it out.
We don't need the crack pipe.
Don't need the crack pipe. Laughs hysterically, still crosses it out. And then he informs the audience that due to his censoring, tonight's Treehouse of Horror will be rated TVG.
A tradition that is still kept by Fox today.
Meanwhile, the little TVG, what do we call it? Graphic?
Well, let's just say PNG.
Okay. The little graphic behind him, as he's talking, grows an arm which has a sword and starts stabbing him in the back. And as he's being stabbed, the rating goes up from TVG, TVPG, TV14, TVMA, TV21, TV666, finally, as the censor is dead. And then we get the title, Simpsons Halloween Special 8. And then on the couch gag, the Simpson family goes to the couch, but then these... like the, what do you call it?
Helmets.
The helmets from like electric chairs drop on them and electrocute them to death.
Very pleasant.
It was very pleasant.
Jesus.
Amusing intro. I liked this one.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Short, to the point, funny. It was a good intro.
It was good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, we're sort of in the era of just like quick intros. When we get into the later episodes, we start getting some really elaborate intros. Some are good, others not so much. But yeah, we're sort of in the era of just the quick intros. So we go right into the first segment, the Homega Man. Zach, tell us about the Homega Man.
Mm-hmm. So, I don't really understand this joke, but apparently the mayor of Springfield made fun of the French something with frog legs or something like that.
You're so... Man, you miss a lot of references. Yeah. So, there's a joke that French people are frogs, and literally the entire cabinet of the French president were frogs.
Yeah, they're laughing, and they're like the bottom of their throats are bulging like bullfrogs, but still, I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So, essentially... The mayor refuses...
It was meant to be a racist joke. That's really all you need to know.
Okay, that's fair. It fucking flew over my head completely, but whatever. So, yeah, the French military decides to nuke Springfield because the mayor refused to apologize. So they launch a nuke. What did it say on it? Inside or inside?
Intel inside.
Intel inside.
Yeah, it was a computer thing from the 90s.
I'm like... That looks so fucking familiar, but I don't know what the fuck that is.
The Intel processor.
Oh, God.
Remember when it was a big deal, but did anybody really understand what it was?
No, I still don't.
Well, that's your problem.
You didn't understand the whole thing about the French.
You didn't understand what a processor is.
Kind of do. Anyway, continue.
Okay, so yeah. They launch a nuke towards Springfield, and it flies past the mayor's office. I bet I'm going to get blamed for this, too. But... What is possibly the funniest moment in all of Simpsons history finally occurs. The nuke is flying, right? And that big fat nerdy motherfucker is
comic book guy.
He's just walking and he's complaining about Aquaman marrying a normal woman.
He's reading an Aquaman comic out loud to himself.
He's just like, you can't marry a normal woman. You're part of two different worlds. And he looks up and the nuke flies in his face.
And we're in the nuke's POV, so he's just flying towards the
You
screen.
see his eyes widen, and he's just like, I wasted my life in the most depressing voice I've ever heard. And it's like, holy shit.
It was like, oh, we know people like that.
Holy fuck.
That's messed up. We do.
We may actually be those people.
Yes.
I think it was funnier than it was to
It
most
was
people.
way funnier than it was ever meant to be.
Oh, absolutely. It was one of those jokes that hit really close.
Yeah,
to
and
home.
okay, so yeah, while this is all happening, Homer was out looking for bomb shelters and whatnot. So this whole time, he was just chilling in a bomb shelter, just looking around, reading a freaking calendar, just like, I don't get it. I don't
The
get
Gary
it.
Larson calendar.
The Gary Larson calendar, there you go, yeah.
Which Gary Larson did the Far Side comic strip.
Yeah, I think the reason why he was like trying to buy new ones because he had a
Oh yeah, the
one set up in his back.
He had a
one set up in his
cardboard
backyard
box.
cardboard box with USA #1 on it. And what do you have, a broom?
The-
Yeah,
Like,
umbrella.
An umbrella.
Oh, an umbrella is the flag and whatnot. And it's just like, he's just like, I hope you're proud of yourself. I am. Good. I'm proud of you. You should be. I don't want to be in it. I don't care. Cool. Cool. So yeah, back to where we were. Yeah, Homer was in the bomb shelter the whole time, so he didn't get affected by the nuke at all, and apparently radioactive fallout isn't a thing, because this thing just happened, killed everybody, but left everything intact, which I'm like, oh, okay, so cool. So yeah,
It's
Homer's...
a cartoon, Zach.
Fair enough.
A Halloween cartoon.
Also fair enough. So yeah, Homer's driving. He's stuck in traffic because everybody's dead and, not driving. Gets out of the car, tells a skeleton of... Was it Ned?
No, it wasn't
No,
Ned.
not
It was
Ned.
Kirk Van Houten, Milhouse's dad.
Yeah, Milhouse, that's it. Yeah, Milhouse's
Which
dad.
actually, I don't think he was named until the Nightmare on Evergreen Terrace episode from the Treehouse of Horror.
Huh?
Because he appeared in
Yeah.
episodes, but I don't think they actually gave him a name until Halloween episodes.
So way down yonder. Cool. So yeah, he punches him in the face and his head explodes, and then Homer realizes, oh shit, everyone's dead, because there's a newspaper down, and for some reason, as the nuke was going off, they were able to print a paper saying, nuke approaching Springfield.
It's called exposition, Zach.
Yeah, sure.
It needs to happen somehow when you have
And then-
6 minutes to tell a story.
Even though it makes no logical sense, but okay, cool.
And then also earlier in the episode, they had a hippo become a deputy, and they also had that written in the newspaper as
No,
well.
in newspaper was Hippo gets promoted.
Oh, yes.
Regardless. So yeah, once Homer realizes everybody's dead and his family's dead, he just starts partying around the city, doing whatever the fuck he wants. And we go to him in a church dancing naked because...
Reasons.
Why not?
Wouldn't you if you were the last person alive?
No. So yeah, Homer
He
was
was-
dancing
yeah,
naked
dancing
in a
naked in a
church. too.
What a way to go back to... So Homer's dancing naked in a church.
And yeah, a bunch of mutants show up and want to kill him because, reasons.
They're mutants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they chase him all the way back to his house. He gets in, and his family survived because the house was painted in so many coats of lead paint that it was just a nuclear bomb shelter already all on its own.
Crap.
Homer's like super happy, loving his family. The mutants get all sentimental. Aw, maybe we can leave together. Marge is like, yeah, sure we can. No! Everybody whips out a double barrel and just shoots the shit out of the mutants. Living with mutants. Fuck you! Hey, let's go steal a Ferrari! And then the episode ends.
Nice.
Yeah, it was pretty great.
It was a fun segment.
It was a very fun segment.
It was. It had a funny moment.
Zach had several funny moments, and you
You
were
laughed.
laughing at
You were
several
laughing.
of them.
You have
Pretty
no
hard.
proof of this.
We have it on recording. You laughing the whole time.
Yeah,
from this.
yes, we did.
It was a very fun segment, based heavily on the 1971 Charlton Heston movie, The Omega Man, which is actually based on Richard Matheson's novel I Am Legend. It was the second film adaptation of I Am Legend, the first being the 1964 Vincent Price movie, The Last Man on Earth.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was The Omega Man. And then there was, of course, the 2007 Will Smith movie, I Am Legend. The Will Smith one is actually the closest to the book. They still, they get a lot of stuff right in that one, but there's still room for improvement, I feel. So it's maybe in another 20 or 30 years we'll get another adaptation. It's such a timeless story that it could be redone.
Yeah, Nice.
But yeah, there was. It's been a really long time since I've seen the Omega Man, but there was some stuff in this segment just taken straight out of it, like the mutant design. That's from the Omega Man. The scene where Homer's in the movie theater is from the Omega Man, but instead of watching a Chris Farley movie, because Chris Farley movies did not exist yet in 1971, I think he was watching the Woodstock documentary.
Oh.
He would know that.
Which it's a little weird watching Charlton Heston watch Woodstock.
Yeah, that is weird.
And I think the car that the mutants were driving, I think that was also from the Omega Man.
Oh, really?
I'm not as sure about that one. Like I said, I haven't seen the movie since late high school, early college.
Huh?
But I feel like I vaguely remember something like that car in the movie.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
But yeah, it's what Richard Matheson had to say about the Omega Man was it's so far removed from the book, I can't even be mad about it.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
I mean, shit.
Also, it was kind of funny when Homer was running from when he got into the hearse. Yeah, I was actually scared of the coffin. Coffin.
It's like, really?
He's not phased by the mutants or the dead
Have you
bodies around them.
Where have you been, Homer?
You pushed the skeleton out of the door to get in there. But you're afraid of the fucking coffin.
The coffin.
Coffin.
The yeah, it was great. Episode 2.
Any final thoughts on Homega Man?
It was entertaining.
It was entertaining.
I think it's definitely one of the funniest segments we've had.
Yeah, with
The guy
one
incident was hilarious.
with one joke that really again goes back to my theory about The Simpsons. Most of it's okay, some of it's good, but every once in a while you get a really, really fucking good joke that just hits you.
And according to the IMDb trivia page for this episode, that line, "Oh, I wasted my life," is one of Matt Groening's favorite lines in the series.
Nice.
I respect him.
Respect. It was fun. It was a fun episode. Zach is still fucking laughing about it. Again, I stand by what I said. That joke is funny. That joke is funny because it hits very close to home.
But it's
for all of us.
just everything about it. It's the fact that you're seeing it from the missile's point of view, the delivery of the line, the look on his face, the build up to it.
Perfect.
Everything about that scene was perfect. I love it.
It was pretty darn great.
Oh
God, my head hurts. It's great.
So anyway, episode 2.
Segment 2, Fly versus Fly. Mark.
So it is essentially a parody, rip-off, homage, whatever you want to call it, to The Fly. It starts with Homer and the rest of the Simpsons clan.
Which actually, before you keep going, that's 2 direct spoofs in one episode.
Yeah.
Have we had that yet?
I don't.
At least having both of them lean this heavily into what they're riffing?
No, not as far as I know. No, I don't think so.
Dude, I'm not gonna lie. When I first saw the title sequence for this, I thought they were gonna do like a more spy versus spy joke because they had the Fly
The
versus
logo
Fly.
was really similar.
Yeah, it was in black and
Really
white. I'm like,
similar.
that's a good one.
That would have been an interesting parody if we combined The Fly with Spy versus Spy.
Nice.
I was
be
really hoping
awesome.
for some dumb shit like that, but no, we got the.
Spy versus Spy. That was good.
What a
stuff.
great show.
Yeah.
So yeah, as far as I know, no, I don't think so. I don't think they've had 2 parodies back to back. Brandon is going to his phone right now to research it. But in the meantime, while he's looking up that, the episode begins with the Simpsons clan going to a garage sale. In such garage sale, it happens to be the home of the
Professor Frink.
Professor Freak, the resident nerd.
He'll make you laugh, he'll make you think.
Sure.
Nerd, mad scientist, Einstein,
Nerd.
like evil fucking genius.
Sure. All of the above.
So in Treehouse of Horror 3, we did have the Crest of the Clown doll, which was a spoof of the Living Doll episode of Twilight Zone, and King Kong.
Oh,
But
yeah, I guess that is.
The Crest of the Clown is more inspired by the premise than an actual outright spoof of it.
Yeah, fair enough.
Then we had the next year where we had the spoof of the Nightmare at 20,000 Feet Twilight Zone and Bram Stoker's Dracula.
So we had a few.
Yeah, so we've had a few.
We had a few. So, anyway, so they're going around and taking a look at a few of the various items. I think Bart finds some, instead of a mood ring, he finds some mood pants.
I don't know if they were mood pants or just multicolor constantly changing tie-dye pants that I'm sure Brandon would absolutely love a pair of.
No, those were tacky as all hell.
Wow.
Wow. The
Okay.
good to know where Brandon's lines at.
Exactly. He has limits.
Yeah, he has. Jeez, I had no idea.
Nobody did. Nobody
Great.
did.
Not their return his Christmas gift.
Son of a bitch. I went back in a time machine. I went to the 1990s and I found some fucking tie-dye pants.
It took me forever. It cost me a lot.
And they were the cool ones too. The ones that like actually had real paint on them and everything else. It was great. Ugh.
Now, maybe if they came with some suspenders.
Oh,
maybe
it was maybe the legit stuff, like in those after school specials with all those kids trying to sell Hooked on Phonics or Zoo books. Anyway, so the episode continues. Homer finds a transporter, very much of the same of the Fly, for on sale for $2. Homer bargains it down to 35 cents, because he's a cheap bastard. So, and he brings it home with the ingenious idea of using it for pure convenience. He tries it out first by putting it downstairs and then upstairs so he can literally walk through. And then he doesn't realize that it also lights him on fire, which is pretty great. And then he puts it next to the fridge, where he can basically have it next to the couch and reach right through and grab a beer. He ends up accidentally grabbing the ear medicine for the cat, which is pretty great because he loved it. They loved the taste of it.
I'm just so confused about why is ear medicine in a can like that?
It's The Simpsons.
It's The Simpsons. And I don't know. I have no idea. Anyway, and then eventually he put it next.
I've seen this episode many, many times throughout my childhood, teenage years, college years, adulthood.
Never questioned it.
I never questioned that.
Yeah, I knew that was coming.
Glad to know I'm the only one.
Zach has now blown Brandon's mind with bringing up the reality of why that there is cat ear medicine.
And now that he owns a
fridge.
cat and he's now discovering the joys and horrors of owning a cat, he's like, wait, what the fuck would you even use that for?
You put things like that in
Hey,
the
I
fridge,
like
but I
my
didn't
cat.
realize it came in a can. That makes sense.
that's the key right there. However, I guess in Springfield everything can in fact come in a can.
Pretty much.
And then eventually it gets to the point where Homer is so lazy that he puts it next to the toilet and he starts to piss in the living room. And that's where Marge has had enough.
Yeah.
And she says, "Homer, enough!" And then he says, "Oh," and then they continue. Bart, throughout this entire time, is pestering Homer to go ahead and use it. Homer says, no, it's not a toy. This thingy-me-bob, this
Highly sophisticated doowacky.
thank you. Because thank you, Mr. Shakespeare. I appreciate that. But
Well, as long as he's not Edgar Allan Poe.
Fuck you.
So much, bro. So much. Anyway, 100%. So Bart eventually disobeys his father, as he always does, and he goes ahead and starts fucking around with it. He is planning on robbing a bank, which I don't think they ever really with a cat, but like I don't know how he was planning on accomplishing that.
He's a child, Mark.
Literally the transporter was right next to it, so I don't know where he was.
How do you get it in the bank is my question.
He wasn't exactly a Danny Ocean kind of thinking.
He's a 10-year-old kid.
Yeah, it wasn't really a well thought out plan. So, but within that opportunity, he found out because Santa's little helper.
Yeah.
Santa's little helper jumped at the cat. They both went into the machine, and very much like the Fly, they combined together. They combined their two front halves together, and then their two back halves.
They are
Oh,
essentially
gross.
cat dog.
Essentially cat dog.
And that part's going to Lisa.
That was pretty funny. And then Bart ends up getting a fly on him, and then said, he starts to imagine about him being Flyboy or Flyman. Superfly.
Which
Wow.
is...
I like how you're just realizing what he said.
Wow. That is painfully 90s.
90s?
90s?
Are you out of your mind?
70s.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Even Zach knows that, Mark.
The
And Zach hates the 70s.
Zach hates most things.
What?
I like the 80s.
Well, yeah. And you do like
But
most of the
definitely.
90s.
Yeah, most of the 90s is
most
cool.
of the 90s.
Everything before 2005 and after 80 is like perfect for me.
It's a nice little meat to grab for them. Anyway.
Yeah, Superfly was 1972.
Wow.
The daily routine of cocaine dealer priest who wants to score one more super deal and retire.
Well, that's
Starring Ron O'Neal.
That is a movie that needs to be watched.
That sounds like one hell of a time.
Indeed, it does. So Bart, thinking very clearly, because of course he thought through that whole bank robbery about 2 seconds ago. He said, "How can this not be a great idea? Like, I'd be stupid not to do this." So essentially,
He is certainly Homer's son.
100%.
Yeah.
By the way, I missed the part about how he came up with the idea. A fly landed on his hand. So
And then he clenches it in his fist.
correct. And then he jumps right into the machine, and then the plan, of course, backfires, and all that is transported is his head to the fly, and he has a fly body, and then, of course, the fly's head gets enormously large and gets attached to the Bart's body, and the family just accepts it, as they often do. So Bart ends up enjoying his time as a fly. He fucks around with, I'm assuming, an Italian spider.
Yep. Which that was a reference from the original 1958 movie. The ending is like it's a similar setup. It's a similar setup to the Jeff Goldblum movie where there's a scientist messing around with a teleportation machine. DNA gets mismatched with the fly. You get the fly's head and hand on his body, and actually between Mark and David is a bobblehead of that. And then it's not revealed what happens to the professor's head until the very end, where the camera just kind of pans down on this spider's web that's outside the mansion, and you see a fly with the professor's body, and he's stuck in the spider web, and there's this spider inching towards him. He's just screaming in his little tiny fly voice, "Help me, help me." And that's the end of the movie.
Nice. I dig it. So anyway, Bart again is tired of being a fly. He wants to go back, and he also sees that he's been essentially replaced by the giant fly, who has now taken part of their lives. He is disgustingly eating maple syrup off of a plate. He ends up eating sugar, which Homer tries to steal on a couple different occasions. Eventually, the fly attacks Bart because Bart tries to come back. Then Bart sneaks back into the house, talks to Lisa, gets into the saxophone, gets an opportunity to chat with her, which is all fine and dandy. And then the fly goes ahead and tries to attack Lisa, and then some chaos ensues. And I can't remember the one. And there's one really gross part before then where Homer... When
Bart is trying to talk to his family, but because he's so small, they just think he's a normal fly. And then Flyhead just starts attacking him and chases him out the window. And Homer's proud of him.
And kisses him on the forehead, and then giant slime comes off of him, and it's nasty. And then quickly after that, the fly attempts to attack Lisa and eat her.
Yep. Bart is able to warn her because he flies up to her lamp and she sees the silhouette of his head.
Oh yeah, that's right.
She can't hear him, but she gets the idea of having him fly into her saxophone.
And then Bart...
she's mad because she let the fly head use her toothbrush.
Yeah, another gross moment. And then Bart eventually, in a kind of a way, gets in front of the fly, makes the fly head eat him. And Lisa's like, "Well, you shouldn't have done that." And then she kicks him into the machine. And then, alas, they turn back to normal. And then then they go back downstairs. And then Homer gets super pissed that he used the machine, and then pulls out an axe and starts chasing him around.
And Marge just has this look on her face like, here they go again.
Yeah, exactly.
Like she's not even fazed by the fact that her husband is chasing their son with an axe.
That was my favorite moment of that episode.
Actually, my favorite moment was one that I didn't get to mention when the fly head is chasing Lisa around and Lisa's screaming, "He's trying to kill me!" And then Homer's like, "No one likes a tattletale, Lisa."
He's like strangling her in
And I
the
was
kitchen. He's like
casually
through
gets
the
a beer from the
machine.
fridge.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. There's a couple funny. It was a good one. It was decent. It was fun. It was definitely not as good as the first one, but it was fun.
I enjoyed that one, at least, especially like the last part of that segment
It was fun.
with Homer, just because it's like we anticipated him to destroy the machine with the axe, and he just turns around. He's like, "I'll teach you to mess with my machine."
I'm not gonna hurt you. Here we go.
Perfect.
I really enjoyed this one too.
Well, that's because you love The Fly.
Yeah, I do like The Fly. I've not seen all the movies. I've seen the original. I've seen the sequel to the original. I have not seen the third one. And then, of course, I've seen the Jeff Goldblum remake from 1986, which I actually think that's Jeff Goldblum's best performance. The makeup effects in that one is just so gross and so great. Probably my second favorite David Cronenberg movie, right after History of Violence, which would make it my favorite Cronenberg horror movie. Nice. It's also my favorite body horror movie. And then there's also The Fly 2 with Eric Stoltz. It's okay.
For everybody who doesn't remember who Eric Stoltz is, he's the guy who was in Back to the Future for about 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Before he was then replaced again by Michael J. Fox.
Yeah.
And there's hidden footage of that somewhere. Did they eventually put it into the bonus features of the Blu-ray for Back to the Future?
I think they did.
It's a fucking awesome movie.
There's some questionable things in it, but it is certainly a great.
It's a great movie.
It is a great movie.
But yeah, I really liked this segment. Definitely has some of the grosser moments of the Halloween episodes.
Yeah.
Particularly because of the fly head. The fly head was so detailed, and then of course they add the slime later on, and it was really gross.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool. That was definitely pretty cool. So, any other final thoughts on episode 2?
It's better than the Raven.
That can't be your
do that
answer to everything.
I'm gonna keep doing it until I come up with something better.
Number 3.
Number 3, Easy Bake Coven.
Oh,
David.
God. I love this. Just because I love period pieces. That's why I picked it. But it takes place in, I guess, during like the Salem witch trials.
Yeah,
So
1600 Springfield with the funny spelling.
you got a dirty mind. I know where your mind's going, buddy.
I can't look at Zach. I can't. It's the reason why oh my god. This, again, going back to why that nerd joke is so
Eddie?
important at the beginning of the first episode. I really have wasted my life. If I get in a car crash tonight and everything else, that's what I'm going to think about before I go through the fucking windshield. Is I've wasted my life.
Look, don't die tonight, because if you do, I'm sorry. I'm going to laugh my ass off at your funeral knowing what your last words were.
I would accept it, Zach.
Your dad's going to fucking hate me, but I'm going to be like, I don't care.
This is what I got to deal with, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Hey, you're the
I
one
got
who
to
said
babysit
period
these
pieces.
two.
And actually, you're not here as much as Brandon is, so Brandon's most of the time the referee here.
No.
He's
He's an instigator sometimes.
Yeah, I'm way more of an instigator than a referee.
What are you
That's
talking
true.
about?
I pretend I'm the referee, but I'm really not. I'm acting like I'm the referee.
Brandon is an actor. Well, ain't that a thought?
Ugh, that's not. Anyway, episode 3.
Anyway, Salem witch trials. We're at the stake where 3 accused witches are burning.
Yep.
One of them happens to be Seymour Skinner's mom, so she's like,
I'll see
I'll see you
you
in
in
hell.
Seymour.
Goodbye,
Mother.
Which is, you have to be a Simpsons fan
To
or
understand that.
or familiar with this story.
Yeah.
But if you are, it's pretty fucking
It
hilarious.
really is.
and then after the burning, we're in the church and the town's trying to figure out the next people to condemn witches, and then Marge kind of had enough and stands up and tries to reason with the town.
Don't do that in this time
And
period.
yeah, did don't not.
Yeah.
Where Mo starts accusing her as being a witch, and it was like, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense because your clothes are a lot whiter than mine.
She's
turned
got the
out
fucking
whiter than
A
mine.
on her. She's got the A patch on her.
Yeah. And before that, like Bart's trying to get Lisa to get accused as being a witch. She's like, she's a witch. She put a spell on me.
Oh my
And then
God.
Marge sits him down. So yeah. And then they condemn her, I guess, or they're trying to do what's called a
They give her
due
a
process.
fair trial, due
Yeah,
process.
due process. where we're at the edge of a cliff. They give her a broom, and the goal is to push her off. And if she makes it, and it turns out that she is a witch, she's supposed to come back for her torture and beheading. So
And if she doesn't, she dies in the ravine. She dies as a good Christian person. God, for all the people who are not familiar with history, man, I wish that was a joke. It is not.
It really is.
That is. It's funny because it's true.
it's so fucked up.
Painfully true.
Yeah.
So obviously, you know what happens. They push her off the cliff, or police chief Wiggum and his
Lou and Eddie. Or their 1600s counterparts.
Yeah, they push Marge off the cliff, and they have a beat for a second. They thought that she was dead or whatnot, so she wasn't a witch, and then all of a sudden she's flying on the broom and laughing, and her skin tone's all green and witchy
as the Hulk.
And they're all like, "Huh, okay." And I think Homer's kind of horrified. It's like, wait a minute, what?
And she cast a few spells before she She turned Wiggum into a gopher.
Yeah.
Lou and Eddie into a snowman.
Yeah, because she was
and
like,
a
yeah, I'm the
sugar
one
plum
that,
fairy.
ruined your crops and whatnot. And then, was it Lenny? He was like, yeah, you're the one that ruined my...
my crops.
my
No,
crop.
that was gophers. But we killed all the gophers. Not
like,
all of them.
not
And that's
all of
when she
them.
turned Wiggum into a gopher.
Yeah.
And
it's
then her
like-
hair explodes into bats.
Yeah, it's like, the rest of you for pushing me out. Oh, no, she turns
Lou and Eddie into
Lou
the
and Eddie.
snowman and
into a snowman and a princess.
That's pretty great.
Fucked up.
And then for the rest of you, bats.
And they run out, and then she flies to a cave where she meets her sisters, who are also witches, and they're there brewing a pot, and they're like, "Oh, I didn't know you were gonna be here. I would have baked the cat." It's like, yeah, they found out I was a witch. I had to leave my family, and they're like, "Oh, you finally left."
Durwood. His
Durwood.
name is Homer.
Whatever.
And then we end up at the Flanders, I think, where they're dreading the witches coming back to do something horrible to them. Or they're pretty much thinking witches are plotting their demise, essentially. And they're talking about, they don't want the witches coming to kidnap their kids and eat them. And then the witches are kind of... watching essentially. It's like, wait a minute, we were just gonna go and steal their shoes, steal their kids.
Is a good idea.
Yeah, a good idea is a good idea.
What? It's not inaccurate.
But yeah, they ended up at Flanders with some sacks for the kids to get in, and then Ned's wife Maud, right? Is that his wife's name?
Yeah, Maud.
It's like brings like a gingerbread like cookies. Like, here, why don't you eat some of these gingerbread kids instead? And
They're boneless.
they're boneless, and they're like, ooh,
Oh,
okay.
holy shit!
They take a bite and they love it, and they go to the next house, essentially trick or treating, because they realize that they could scare the town into giving them treats. And so they the last house they went to, they had a caramel apple, and then I
A
think
candied apple and a caramel cod.
caramel cod. It's fucking gross.
Christ.
Oh, disgusting. And then they realized, like, this is much easier or better. We should have thought about this before we filled up on
Children
before we got to Flanders.
Whoops.
Womp womp.
Yeah, and then they fly out, and a year later, it's a tradition. Everyone's trick or treating, and apparently Homer's the genie.
No, and not the Disney blue genie.
No,
the
he's
I
am
Dream of
Genie.
Yeah, the fucking nose wiggling, blinking blonde
That's
from.
Bewitched.
Oh, is
That's
it?
Bewitched.
Yeah,
It
I
is
Dream of
literally
How
Genie.
many genies are there?
Well,
It's a
the
witch,
witch is a
that's a
witch, not a genie.
It was around the same time, Zach. It's perfectly understandable that you get those
Yeah.
confused. They are basically the same fucking show, though.
Which, did anybody ever see the
Yeah.
Will Ferrell Bewitched movie?
I did.
Yes.
I enjoyed it.
Wait a minute, there's a Wolf
I'm a
Ferrell
witch.
Bewitched movie.
I'm a Clippers fan.
So David, what did Homer end up doing when he was dressed with showing his
There was a
midriff?
house that there wasn't answering to their call or whatever, was throwing rocks and eggs at the house, and Lisa's like, "Dad, that's our house."
Dad starts laughing at him.
And he
Homer's
turns around,
response,
"Witch!" And then
Dad
it,
starts chasing Lisa.
The
perfect way to end the episode.
Poor girl.
yeah, that was pretty great. That was funny.
Just because I probably would do that too if I got pissed. Somebody got smart with me, witch.
Uh-oh. Don't tell Lily.
I'm not gonna lie.
So, for funniest moment, does anybody have a choice other than I wasted my life? Are we unanimous?
I can't do that.
No, I think we're
crap.
unanimous on
Yeah,
this
that was absolutely
Absolutely.
that might be the funniest joke of the entire Treehouse.
I agree.
one. And then for scariest, grossest, or creepiest moment,
Definitely the fly. Anything with the fly. for
yeah,
me.
anything with the fly slime, I think was pretty gross. Especially Homer kissing it, so he just gets like that.
Yeah,
You know, I like
his
you guys say the
mouth on it.
kissing thing, but you completely forget about the goddamn toothbrush. It's one thing to put your mouth on the outside. That thing went in.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
that does. You don't see it, but it does paint a picture.
I told him, I was like, oh, I know what I'm doing for the nastiest moment. And then they did that line. Braden turned to me and he's like, you spoke too soon, Mark. And they-
Yeah, so I think we're pretty unanimous on funniest and grossest moments.
yeah, I think that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Okay. Least favorite segment of the episode.
or just least, I'm gonna go with 3 just by default. It's not that I didn't enjoy it; I just happened to enjoy the other ones a little bit more.
I'm pretty much in the same thought. Like I said, all 3 are very solid, and I mean that's the thing about when you have 3 solid
Yeah.
ones. When we're picking a least favorite, one does have to come out on bottom.
Of course.
And yeah, I did enjoy the first 2 a little bit more. The first one I thought was hilarious. The second one I thought had that balance of humor and grossness. And yeah, the third one I thought had some really beautiful animation though. Like the old time
Yeah.
Springfield looked great. The green skin on the witches looked great. Some of the shots of the witches flying against the moon were great. So yeah, each segment definitely had something to offer.
I'd love to go back and I just this thought about like us picking like the best and worst. I found that a lot of times the ones that we pick as the worst often have the best animation. It seemed to I have to go back and listen listen to it, but it seems like a lot of the ones that we picked for worst always ended up being us saying, oh, but the animation was great, but it just wasn't as like funny or this or that. It happened to be the least. So I'm gonna have to go back and listen to all the recordings. But I think
that would
I
be
remember a
interesting when I
trend.
start editing all of these.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see if I notice any trends between our best picks and our worst picks.
Oh, I'm sure there's going to be. That's just one that happened to spring into my head right this moment. So Zach, worst one?
I guess the fly.
The fly for you?
Yeah, sure.
Fair. So underenthused.
Again, it's not as bad as the Raven.
Sure.
What made you pick it as the bottom one for this trio?
I was disappointed it wasn't a spy versus spy gig.
The title was
Fair
misleading.
enough.
I get that.
Yeah. I did like the Bart fly head design, and I liked that it was a spoof of the fly without being like it wasn't like King Homer or the Shinning where it was
A direct
yeah,
rip-off.
where it was just where it felt
Shot
like
for shot.
we have to
Yeah.
hit all these beats. It was what it's spoofing, but they're bringing it into the Simpsons universe rather than trying to cram the Simpsons universe into the movie.
It didn't suffer from the Psycho remake syndrome.
Yeah.
Favorite segment.
One,
Serious question?
absolutely
3.
the first
Yeah.
one.
3 for me.
3.
Oh, shit. Okay,
look
that
at
was
this.
We
a
have
serious
one
question.
holdout.
Oh yeah, one
One
holdout.
holdout.
All right.
I pick Homega Man as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna. So it's 3 against 1.
Fuck you guys.
They
But yeah, I mean, like I said,
fuck your period piece.
Yeah,
It would have been the fly, but like I think the fly could have been a little bit better when it comes to like the gross factor. 'Cause, like,
Yeah.
that when he was like
with
strangling Lisa, was trying to like eat Lisa, I thought that was actually gonna make contact with her face. If I remember correctly, as a kid, I thought it did. When I was like remembering the episode when we were watching it right now, I thought it was gonna land.
Huh?
So I thought it was gonna be a little bit more grosser.
I'm also going to point out, because I've definitely mentioned this as what I consider a successful Treehouse segment, and I think all 3 of these hit that mark.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Is good beginning, middle, and end.
Yeah.
Like each one
Yeah,
of
the
these
structure.
each one of these segments was a well-structured, complete story that none of them really fell off at the end like some of the weaker segments have in the past. Like each one has a clear ending, each one has a clear setup, and yeah,
Yeah, I'm definitely
I
behind.
thought this was a very successful episode.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So, gentlemen,
Any last thoughts before
Final-
we sign off?
final thoughts. David.
No.
No final thoughts for him.
Everything's been said.
Hard no.
Zach,
Squirrels.
Brandon.
I already gave my final thoughts.
Awesome. It was pretty cool. It was a good, solid episode of Treehouse. I definitely, I recommend this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's been a quick time. So,
All
Brandon,
right.
sign us out.
So, you're welcome for that 35 cents worth of entertainment that you just got for free. Be sure to follow us at Midwest Horror Network on all of our social medias at YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and
Slasher.
And of course, check out all of our other great material that we got running. We also have the Nightmares podcast where we discuss all things horror, movies, television shows, video games, comic books. We also get a lot of great interviews on there with directors, musicians, composers, artists, people who run non-for-profit organizations, but it is all related to the horror community. In addition, the awesome show Screaming Room, where we react, comments, and discuss, watch, talk about any other adverbs or verbs that I'm missing.
You're Italian. You should be good at this.
Often lesser-known horror movies, and then also Zach's exclusive show, Let's Play a Game, where he plays, and runs around like a crazy madman, talking about some of the most popular horror video games around, and these days maybe even some lesser-known ones as well. So thank you so much. We always appreciate you listening. Take it easy.
happy October 8th.